Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. There's even a brand new Brigadier General tier where you can get a shout out on a Commander's Quarters episode that's dedicated to you. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So recently I did an episode on the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Commander deck name leaks, or should I say, potential name leaks. Now, to my knowledge, those names have not been confirmed, but everything seemed to be pretty legitimate, so yeah, I gave my thoughts on what those decks could potentially be, so if you haven't seen that episode yet, make sure you check it out at some point. Regardless, this morning it looks like we might have potentially even more leaks coming out from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. On Reddit this morning, a couple of images of supposed cards from the set showed up in a post. Now again, obviously these have not been confirmed if they are actual real cards, and I will give you my opinion on if I believe these are real or fake, but I will also show you the cards just in case they are real. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So the first image that we got is pretty blurry, but it does show the entire card. Now, because of this blurriness, it is really hard to tell with some of the details on this card. Like, I can't make out the actual artist's name on the card, which is one thing. You can't really see if the actual, what do they call it, the oval stamp, that security stamp at the bottom of the card, if that looks legitimate or not. And yeah, the set symbol is a bit hard to make out. And of course, it's just really hard to tell if the actual art even looks legitimate or not. Now, let's go over what this actual card does and talk about whether that kind of lends credibility or, well, whatever the opposite of credibility is to it. And to do this, just to make it easier to actually see the card and to discuss it, I of course made a proxy version of it. And of course, as always, a big thank you to MTG.design for existing. You are a great help with making custom cards. So here we have Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa, a 3/3 dragon spirit with flash and flying that costs 3 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Kyodai. And by paying Wooburg, Kyodai gets +5/+5 until end of turn. So first up, let's start with the creature type, a dragon spirit. We definitely saw dragon spirits in the previous Kamigawa block, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see some in Neon Dynasty. And I guess I should say I wouldn't be surprised to see if they were legendary, like, Kakusho in that entire cycle of legendary dragon spirits. A 3/3 with flash and flying for 4, that seems fine, and when it enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Kyodai. That sounds very familiar, and we'll get to why here in just a bit. Regardless, just slapping Wooburg on there to allow it to get +5/+5 until end of turn means that this is a 5-color commander, which obviously makes it a lot more appealing to many players instead of just being a mono-white commander. And no offense to mono-white, but it is currently the weakest color in commander, pretty much by far, and there's no real argument to it. So in that way, it's kind of like Sisay Weatherlight Captain, where, it has white in its mana cost, but it just has, a Wooburg ability put on it, so therefore it is a 5-color commander. Now, that ability kind of just seems thrown on there, though. It's not really doing anything special, just pumping it +5/+5 until end of turn. Yeah, I mean, that's a safe thing to do. It's not really all that abusable. But yeah, it's not doing anything all that special. Now, obviously, if you get infinite mana with this out, you can make it infinitely large, but there's a lot of different things that you can do to win once you've got infinite mana. Regardless, that ability just being tacked on there just kind of seems suspicious to me. I do think that Wizards is probably trying to just move away a little bit from those just generically, hey, this is now 5-color because of, no real reason. Now, if this ability was doing something unique and not just pumping this, I would probably be thinking differently about this, but it is what it is. And speaking of this card just not being all that unique, especially for a commander, it's kind of just a combination of 2 other cards. Outside of that Wooburg ability, this is basically just a combination of Aegis Angel and Restoration Angel. Aegis Angel is a 5/5 flying angel that costs 4 white, and it has, when it enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Aegis Angel. So outside of the name, literally just word for word the exact same text. And then Restoration Angel is a 3/4 angel with flash and flying that costs 3 and a white, and it has when enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-angel creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So obviously very similar power toughness and flash and flying and the same mana cost, and the ability to basically just protect something out of nowhere. So again, if Kyodai was a real card, it's not really doing anything all that unique or interesting, especially for a 5-color commander, and again, that 5-color ability just kind of seems slapped on. I mean, if you were going to build a deck around this, what exactly would that deck be? This commander can protect one of your things, so if you, I guess if you've got like a key permanent you want to build this deck around and can consistently get, sure. Overall, though, it just doesn't really seem like a design that I would envision them making for a commander from the new Kamigawa set. So, taking into account what this card actually does in the design of it, I don't think it's very promising that this is actually a real card. But, again, I could be wrong. Also, just looking back at the picture, again, we really don't get that good of a look at the actual set symbol, but that set symbol just kind of, with its graininess, does seem kind of janky to me. And again, we don't really get a good look at the artist's name. We don't get a good look at that security stamp. And again, this is just a very blurry picture when I don't understand this. Even with actual real leaks, when they're actually real cards, what are people taking pictures with? Or how do you take a blurry photo like this and be like, yeah, okay, it looks good. I'm just going to upload this now. It looks fine. Maybe try to focus and take a second shot. So yeah, the actual blurriness of the card definitely doesn't lead any credence to this being an actual card. Which is actually really interesting because with the next cards that we're going to see in a different picture, we get a lot clearer picture, and it's, I believe, from the exact same leak, the exact same post on Reddit. So, as you can see from this picture, a lot less grainy. Though, that being said, a lot of things stand out from this picture, which makes me question if this is real or not. The first being that the set symbol is obviously covered with each of these cards. That seems quite purposeful because, yeah, again, like I said in the previous picture, the set symbol just seemed to be a bit janky looking, and it was really blurry so we couldn't see it, and with an actual, image that had the actual set symbol on it, we could probably determine, yeah, that kind of looks like something that Wizards might make for a set symbol or not. But the individual who took this photo decided that, well, that set symbol really wasn't all that necessary for us to see, just in the way that they happened to lay down the cards. Yeah, it's suspicious to me. Again, that could just be a coincidence, and I'm not saying that these are not real cards because of that. I'm just saying, be a little skeptical with these kind of leaks. Regardless, again, although this picture is in a lot better focus, obviously, we can see the names very clearly of Echo of Death's Wail and Takenuma Abandoned Mire. We don't get to see all the text for the other one with Remnant of the Rising Star, and it's a tad bit blurry. And again, kind of with these, leaks, if you actually got these cards and you got your hands on them and you wanted to show them off and you wanted to get everyone aware of what these cards are, wouldn't you just take, individual photos of each one, not on top of each other and make sure that everyone can see what each one is? And also, and I'll get into this here, you would need to see the backs of at least 2 of these cards. Or should I say that supposedly it looks like we're seeing the backs of 2 of the cards currently with Echo of Death's Wail and Remnant of the Rising Star, and we don't have the image for the front of them. Now let's jump into the ones that we actually can see all the text for, or basically all the text for, with Echo of Death's Wail and Takenuma Abandoned Mire. Going through the actual card and what it does is going to give us some more hints on whether it is real or not. So again, just to make things easier, I made a custom card with Echo of Death's Wail. Thank you again, MTG.design. It's a 3/3 enchantment creature spirit with flying and haste that does not have a mana cost, and it does appear to be an MDFC. The actual kind of new image in the top left, that new icon, is not one that we currently have, so I just utilized ones that we already have. Regardless, it has, when it enters the battlefield, gain control of all rat tokens. Whenever Echo of Death's Wail attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Obviously, it would be great to have more context and know what the front of this card is supposed to do, because just gaining control of all rat tokens is a very weird thing. If the front of the card has nothing to do with making rat tokens, why in the world does this just gain control of all rat tokens? Now, I do like the concept of having kind of a callback of a legendary creature from the original Kamigawa with Death's Wail, and we'll get into the exact card here in a bit. But yeah, there's just some things that are a little suspicious here. Now, one thing that is kind of like another callback and something that they might actually do in the new Kamigawa is this kind of switching from a creature to an enchantment, or now what it would be a creature enchantment, like we saw on Kuon Ogre Ascendant. It's a legendary creature Ogre Monk that says at the end of turn, if 3 or more creatures were put in graveyards from play this turn, flip Kuon Ogre Ascendant. And it flips to become Kuon's Essence, a legendary enchantment that says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. Now, obviously, back then, the way that they handled this was actually flipping the card and having a top side and a downside, but now it's more, typical for them to actually just have the card have a backside to it where you just flip the card over, MDFCs and such. So yeah, having MDFCs with, a regular creature on one side and an enchantment creature on the other, that's not all that surprising. Though I would think that if that were the case, Echo of Death's Wail would also be legendary, which we are not seeing on the card. It's just an enchantment creature, it is not a legendary enchantment creature. Because of course, that callback is to Hirobi Death's Wail, a 4/4 legendary creature spirit with flying that costs 2 black, and it says whenever a creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, destroy that creature. So yeah, there's your reference. Though that being said, obviously although Hirobi does deal with death and taking out creatures, well, it doesn't have anything to do with rats. Nothing at all. Now if that front side of the other card that we didn't get an image of were to say, hey, whenever a creature is destroyed, that opponent creates a rat token or something like that, and then, when Hirobi dies, you flip it, and then you gain control of all the rats, that kind of makes sense. So again, obviously there could be some potential there, but again, that might be a bit of a stretch. Let's move on though and talk about the other card where we can see all the text of it, basically with Takenuma, Abandoned Mire, and yet again, I have made a custom card, thank you MTG.design. It's a legendary land that can tap at a black, and it says channel, pay 3 and a black, discard Takenuma, Abandoned Mire, mill 3 cards and return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. And my apologies if I got any of that text wrong, some of the text is kind of hidden, so yeah, bear with me, okay? Regardless, the way that this land was designed does make it seem like it could be a possible card in the upcoming set. It has an interesting effect for a land and it's effective at what it does. Legendary lands were definitely a thing in the original Kamigawa block, and we even got a cycle of them with cards like Shizo Death Storehouse, Minamo School at Water's Edge, and Shink of the Bloodsoaked Keep, etc, etc. Each of these tap for a mana of one of the 5 colors, and they each had an extra ability. However, with Takenuma Abandoned Mire, obviously this is an ability that is different because it has to deal with it being in your hand, being Channel. Channel was an ability that we saw in the original Kamigawa block, though there weren't really all that many of those cards, and they're not really all that popular in a format like Commander, or probably in any other format. We can see it on something like Shinin of Life's Roar. And as Channel for 2 green, discard Shinin of Life's Roar, all creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. So it is definitely possible that Channel is something that they could bring back, and the design of Takenuma Abandoned Mire, again, it seems like something that they could design, so again, there's just a lot of factors here on whether these are legitimate or not. Now, when it comes to my opinion on these supposed cards, my thoughts are, well, I am leaning that these are not real. Now, obviously, if they're not real, someone was able to make some pretty good proxies, so good on you. But again, for all the reasons that I discussed in the episode, a lot of things just point to these not being real cards. Whether that's a blurry image quality, or again, the set symbol being hidden on those cards that have a better image quality, or just the way that some of these cards work, it just seems like to me that these are not going to be real cards. But again, I could be wrong on that, and these might be very legitimate cards. So again, please take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt and make up your own decision on these. And of course, we'll know in the not too distant future, though it is still a decent amount of way when it comes to the actual spoiler season for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, we will see if these are actual real cards in the set. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.